Welcome to episode 11 of Blockchain Bytes. I'm Gautam Paul from NZ Blockchain Forums, and today we're going to be talking to Kaye Maree Dunn. So kia ora, Kaye Maree. I'm not going to introduce you, I'm going to let you introduce yourself so our audience get a better idea of who you are and where you come from.
Kia ora tātou katoa, kia ora Gautam and the whānau of NZ Blockchain Forums. It's a real privilege to be here today. My name is Kaye Maree. I am the co-founder of Ahau NZ Limited. We have utilised decentralised technology to help protect our tangata guiho in a digital space, in particular our ancestry, whakapapa, and also supporting whānau to be able to create their own personal archives to store information that is most precious to them in a way that they own. It belongs to them and has no other eyes, hands or ears associated with the precious works that they wish to retain for future generations.
Thank you, Kaye Maree. And you're basically to this day continuing to sort of build a powerhouse of digital networks across the country focused on sharing stories of successful Maori businesses. And that means focusing on the digital platforms that help share traditional knowledge, such as whakapapa. Your journey is quite an interesting one. How did you actually get involved in blockchain? Back in 2019, I believe?
Yeah, around then. So I'm a Edmond Hillary Fellow, which is a collective of national and international change makers and entrepreneurs. Whilst at an event, I was in a spa pool and I heard some people talk about this thing called blockchain. My ears immediately pricked up because I wanted to understand, what is that? I was like, oh, what's that? And there were three parts that really stood out to me in that conversation. The first one was that blockchain was going to revolutionize the internet and the way that we conduct ourselves on the internet as we know it. It would give individuals the power to control and determine the way that they use their information in a way that worked for them. And thirdly, when Bitcoin was still kind of growing its wings somewhat, I also love the thought of being able to get in at a ground level on transforming the face of our economy and really exploring what different banking systems and different financial models might look like, especially for Māori and Indigenous peoples globally.
Mm-hmm. And the Indigital token, can you just explain a bit more about that in terms of what its purpose is and role and so on?
Now, that is still an aspiration. Okay. And the reason is, again, about threefold. The first one was the intention behind Indigicoin. When I started to understand or learn more about what blockchain could do and what cryptocurrencies could also achieve, was that I wanted to look at how might we create a currency that was Indigenous values centred, that wasn't so harmful on Papatūānuku and the Tātai, especially in regards to energy usage. And thirdly, the ultimate vision was, how do you create a crypto that would rise in value because of the good that you would do in the world? That was the essential first starter points. And when we kicked off into that area, we went and morphed into lots of different fields because, of course, we were a group of Māori, and particularly young rangatahi, that were helping to, one, understand what blockchain is, understand how we navigate this world, and thirdly, what was possible. But for a range of reasons, the concept wasn't quite sticking. And we couldn't quite figure it out. So I pushed pause. I'm very grateful to Centrality because they were our very first, I guess, kohanga or nesting place for the idea. And then I went away to China, came back, and an invitation was provided by Centrality to enter into a hackathon. And in that hackathon, we brought some of our young people together to help us figure out what we were going to pitch to win the competition, because I was intending to win the comp. And that's when I met my co-founder of Ahau, being tied out. And then we also started to jam on some issues around Māori land and how blockchain could really support whānau to better understand their land assets, etc. And then people weren't really jamming with my Indigicoin idea for whatever reason. They were like, yes, we understand it, but we're not really like so down with it. And I was like, kind of quietly gutted, but then also had to stay open. And then we all started to just continue to brainstorm. And then the one factor that connected all of the very diverse conversations and actually was very critical to our next stage was genealogy. And in fact, the fabric, if you think about blockchain as being a series of kind of interconnected but decentralized nodes, when you think about what is it that connects all of humanity, it is ancestry. And that's when the, I guess the aha moment landed on us specifically, was when we realized in order to create a trusted network for trade or economic benefits, we need to build it upon a framework of ancestry. And so that's what we decided to do. And so that's what we've been knee deep in for the last 3 years, working in partnership with community to build a decentralized system for storing genealogy and storing or creating an archive for our precious information. And then the areas that we're going to be growing into from a commercial perspective will be the creation of an Indigenous digital identity, and also the potential for Indigenous banking based on the framework that we've created.
And there's a huge wealth of knowledge that can be shared. I mean, I want to sort of throw in here the idea, have you thought about the NFT space for this as well? Because that's another thing that's growing.
Not directly as such. We've got associates that are in the NFT space, and NFTs are kind of going like this at the moment, and then you add in a bit of hype in there too. So we, in regards to the area of work that Ahau is involved in, we have to be very, very careful. We're dealing with sacred information, or in particular being the doorway for individuals to store their own information. So I think that's very critical, and you need to keep that clean and tidy and specific. And then any add-ons that we're exploring to move into needs to be aligned with our roadmap. So I could say that it may be there later, but we're just trying to ensure that our current systems work effectively for the people that we're serving, our partners, our tribal partners, our whānau. And then once we've kind of landed on that, I think that our network of users can determine whether or not NFTs is a space that they think would add more value to the areas that they work in.
And how do you think then that you can further support and encourage the Maori on this sort of digital journey?
I think that the digital journey for Māori is an ongoing one, and it depends on the angle that you come at it from. So my other company, Making Everything Achievable, has partnered up with NZ Tech and Te Whare Wānau Awanuiarangi, and is also guided by a research taumata. And we were looking at the potential or the current state of play for Māori and technology, and also the future of tech for Māori communities. And right across that body of work, we've interviewed over 35 technology practitioners, those starting out in tech, those entrepreneurs and owners of business. Their experience of moving into technology from young people through to training and out into the workplace has been a very varied experience for them as Māori and or Pasifika people. Whether or not they've had helping hands or encouragement, but many Māori families have not had technology or technology conversations around the dinner table, because of course we've got a whole range of other matters that we need to be exploring in regards to our development as communities. However, the critical issues that are facing our people to be able to even step into the tech space effectively is access to high-speed internet, to be able to move over digital poverty, so having good quality devices that they can access within the home, access to Indigenous-centred training and support services at a community and regional level, ensuring that tertiary institutions have quality programming and training to support them in building their confidence. And then you've also got, the fundamentals of engineering, which is STEM, mathematics and science. And how do we also build and foster a love of mātauranga Māori, science, and the application in technologies as well. So all of that work is happening right across the Māori tech ecosystem, and also other allies that are supporting that work. And so that's a bit of a roundabout way to answer your question, because I think it's multifaceted. And I think that actually what we can be doing right now is supporting Māori businesses, Māori-led businesses that are in technology and that are advocating for equitable outcomes and opportunities for Indigenous-led tech initiatives to be fully supported by the Crown and our iwi and other partners, so that our creativity and ideation can not only positively influence our own people, so that our own people can see ourselves in technology, but also that we're moving from being mere consumers and users of technology, but to become the Indigenous designers, creators and influencers of tech globally as well, which I am seeing more and more of my friends and my colleagues moving into that space today.
What's your vision for this digital sort of future, crossing over sort of between the past and the present and the future?
I think that I've just come out of Te Tairāwhiti, the East Coast. I spent some time with the whānau of Hene Pare Marae and Rangitukia. Then I went to the Tolaga Bay Innovation Hub, which is centred in Uwawa on the East Coast. And then in Tūranga, Gisborne, spent time with some amazing people from the community associated with Taiki Air, a Indigenous impact hub in Gisborne. And right across these three quite diverse groupings on the East Coast, their vision was like 50 years into the future, how might we ensure that Māori have a seat at the table of large corporate conglomerates like Google and Facebook. And I mean, they might not exist in 50 years' time, but what I loved hearing was that they want to see Indigenous peoples helping to not only advance technology globally, but actually to be part of the co-creation of the future of what these technologies need to look like. I heard people in these country localities talk about AI, their fears of AI, thinking that Skynet, Terminator could potentially be a possibility. But then again, with Indigenous values and Indigenous leadership, where aroha and community are at the core of our thinking, and also being centred on the teachings of our ancestors, and also thinking about our future generations that are not yet born. How does that also influence the types of technologies that will be created? And these very diverse people, I had a queer who was aged over 80, and from the age of 80 all the way down through to probably an 8-year-old over the last 3 days. Just the real hope and desire to ensure that technology can reflect who we are as a people, and that technology needs to be guided by us, but also designed in a way that it isn't just taking people's information or using people's data without our consent, that there isn't a fair level of reciprocity, and that there are always plenty of doorways for our people to be able to enter, so that we are able to create and influence change now and into the future.
Mm-hmm. Oh, thank you for that. What are your thoughts? I mean, there's still quite a bit of a backlash against sort of blockchain in terms of energy use and application. What are your thoughts around that? I mean, you mentioned, getting more of the Indigenous or getting the Maori involved, and that's part of the culture as well, isn't it? About how man and the planet should coexist in a proper way. Is that something that you're already discussing with your colleagues and your partners?
Oh, absolutely. And I think that there are already developments happening locally and globally around the use of energy in a way that's more healthy for the taiao, for the environment, and Papatūānuku Earth Mother. And I think there's things like thermal, kind of steam operated, kind of power services where geothermal technologies are being utilised to help power up some of these technologies, which I've seen been tested globally. I remember seeing a ship, a huge big boat, and it's got like massive big solar panels on the top of it, and they've got all of these processors on this boat, and that's all it's doing, is it's being an engine room for processing, just to explore what it might be like to harness the sun's energy to help power up some of these technologies. And then I also think that there's have been some discussions around marae-based mining services, so that marae can also derive an income utilising their own kind of local energy services, and just having this mining machine kind of operating quietly in the background, and then kind of some crypto moving through into communal spaces. I don't know if they're happening at a larger level, but I do know that people are thinking about it, are concerned about the energy use, and are looking proactively on, well, how might we solve some of these issues in a way that protects our ability to innovate, but also does not make a mess of the planet at the same time.
What's your message to young Māori who might be interested in pursuing a career in this area? I mean, where do you go? Where do they go? How do they make a start to ride this new wave of innovation here in Aotearoa?
I think that, look to your peers to see, hey, what is it that we could do to grow our capability and capacity into technology, whether or not you want to be a coder. There are amazing coding clubs that are happening all across Aotearoa. Have a look at Ariki Creative. They've got a whole database of programs, hubs and resources specifically for Māori that you can hit up and get some friends and relations to support you on your tech journey. I think also be persistent in moving towards what it is that you're trying to achieve, and that means if a door closes on you, don't let that diminish your desire to do what you want. Just go and find another door to go through. So I think never give up. Find people that inspire you. Find places, like find your tribe of people that can help support you grow and develop your ideas. And never stop wishing or dreaming that you can have a real impact and influence. And even if you don't feel like you're technical, because I'm not technical, but the hopes and aspirations that I have for our people meant that I was able to utilise technology as a tool to further our aspirations as Māori, and I think that there's a real great opportunity for you to do the same. And talk to me at any stage as well, and I'm happy to connect you up with people too. Mauri ora.
Kaye Maree, it's been an absolute delight to engage with you and to hear your thoughts and views, and I'm really excited about how we sort of, as a country, Aotearoa, we sort of move forward on this journey and create the right future for all of us. Thank you.
Kia ora. Kia ora tātou.
Kia ora.